All right, Shalom. Of course, I want to start off by giving all praise to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai for the wisdom, understanding, and the gospel, this truth. This is just going to be a little video real quick where what's the word I'm looking for? That I look back on, basically my path in this truth, right, in this ministry. And, a lot of you might not know, how I got started, how I came into this thing. But I'm just going to give a little bit of a backstory. You can take of it of whatever you will. I might entitle this, It All Started With 4. Which if you don't know what that means, then odds are you probably haven't been following me for the past 4 years. Okay? First things first, I've been in the truth for 6.5 years, almost 7 years. I have been in the truth. Okay? When I was growing up, I was, for part of my life, I was raised Catholic, then a Seventh-day Adventist. And I would say when I was in the Seventh-day Adventist church, I was actually in the truth. You know why? Because you have something called a lukewarm Christian and a vigilant Christian, which is, inside joke, because you actually have somebody called a vigilant Christian, which he actually has something to do with the story at hand. But anyway, in the church, right, I was one of those guys who would do my research, such as I knew, America's Babylon, the mark of the beast is the microchip, and, stuff like that. Yeah, we're in the end times, that Christ is, gonna return, to save, the elect. Now, granted, back then, I didn't know as much as I know today. All right, obviously, because, this is a growing experience. When I came into this truth, I was, 12 years old. All right, I was 12 years old when I came into this truth. All right, which is what? The age that you become a man, right? 12 years old. And, it's also funny as well because, before YouTube, which I've been doing YouTube for 4 years now, over 4 years, like 4 years and probably 3 months or something like that. I started back in 2016. Late 2015 to early 2016 is when I, entered the ministry online. And it's lucky if I, had to think for a minute, because, there's too much information to, to bring up, you know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of stuff to go over. But, I always remember this one dream that I had, when I was first coming into this truth, man. It basically went, I was in a dark room, and then I walked out the door, into another room. And there, I looked up at the light. Okay, so I started in a dark room. I walked out the door, and I looked up, and I walked into the light. The way I see that, I always will remember that dream. Among all the ones I've had, even my lucid dreams, which if you don't know what that is, you can look that up. Which I've had 8 of those experiences. But that's a story for another time. I always remember that dream, and the way I envision that is that's when I came into this truth, man. Okay? When I was in the Seventh-day Adventist church, that's when I came into the truth. Now, granted, I didn't know as much as I know now, but you grow over time. Okay? There is a maturity that comes with being in the truth for a certain period of time. Okay, the scriptures speak about, being aged in the scriptures. The scriptures speak about, starting with milk and then receiving the meat. Which, what does that represent? Starting with the simple things of the scriptures, and then you move on to more complex understandings of the scriptures. Okay, now here's a little ironic story real quick. Back in the SDA church, the church I went to, the church I came into the truth at, not that the church had, the truth or anything, but I, did my own research, and I would say I was the most vigilant one out of the whole building. And I could easily prove that. However, the ironic part is I remember my, what would I call them? My, we'll just say family members. When I was little, like 6 years old, I remember they actually took me to that same building. They took me to that church like 2 times with them because they used to go there for like a year or so. So I went into, the lunch hall. That's where I was when I was 6 years old. And then, a few years later, I'm, 12. And then, I come back there again. And guess who I ended up meeting? A guy named John, right? And I meet a guy named John in the church. We spoke a little bit, hey, how are you? Because he was in, my youth group at the time, right? So yeah, we met maybe one day, didn't think much of each other, yeah, how you doing and whatnot. Because he was in, one of the youth groups at the, church that my mother used to, take care of the kids there, volunteer. And, he was in that group, with my, younger, sibling as well. And, the other ironic thing is another friend, we'll call him Marcus. We'll call him Marcus. Because he might not want his real name out there, but we'll just call him Marcus. Which is one of my longtime friends. I've been friends with the guy for, I want to say over 8 years, 8.5 years. I've been friends with the guy. Very good friend. He actually was at the church too. And he met him. He was, having a conversation with him. Actually became decent friends with the guy. So Marcus and John, right? Just remember those names. Fast forward a little bit. And let me just say this real quick. This is not all in order. I'll give certain, little stories that might not have to do with, the topic I speak about after, but it's, I'm trying to keep it as relevant as possible. Because as I said, there's so much information that has to be remembered to give the story in its entirety that, I'm doing the best I can without, writing it down. So, hey, sit back and relax and let me do the hard, talking. Sad joke. Anyway, let's look at it this way. So I ended up starting my YouTube, right? And the reason I did is, I was speaking to Marcus about, yeah, man, all this information about, who people call the Illuminati and whatnot, all that good stuff, about the scriptures. And he, brings up, hey, remember that guy John? Remember that guy, John? He does YouTube, man. You should look into it. Okay, so he gave me his channel name, which his channel name was what? Rock Upon Him, right? So I get in contact with the guy, and yeah, it's the same guy that I met a few years before at the SDA church, right? John. So, we get, in touch, we connect on Google Hangouts. He was like a big guy, like 5,000 subscribers, which that's big, man. That's big. He used to do videos with TVC Mario, which is, the #1 most popular so-called Christian YouTuber of all time. He used to do videos with that guy. Okay. And I've also spoke to, what is that? I believe it's Truth Never Sleeps or something like that. There's one of those big guys, or Celebrate Truth, something like that. I forget the guy's name now. But a couple years ago, I had a conversation with him about it because he did videos with that guy as well. But anyway, I was introduced to a couple other guys. Ridge Nibbler, which he came about a year after I met the other guys. And the other two was named The Loving Christian, and the other guy was named The Vigilant Soldier. Okay, which we'll jump ahead a couple years into the future to our present time right now. The reason I entitled this, I'm probably going to entitle it, we'll see what happens. But it started with 4 because the 4 is myself, Yasha, Some might call me age, which that's, at this point, an inside joke. For those who've been with us for a while, you'll know why they say that. So yeah, me, myself, age, or others will call me Yasha. Ridge Nibbler, which he's still around. Rock Upon Him, which he pretty much retired off of YouTube. That brother isn't really around. Every once in a while, he'll comment on something. But I mean, that guy really isn't doing much anymore. Let's see, who else? The Loving Christian, which he's still around. I grew with somewhat of a respect for that brother. Okay, he's still around. And the Vigilant Soldier, which the Vigilant Soldier he only really been online for maybe 6 months out of, the whole 4 years, 4.5 years that, I've been friends with the guy. He knows some stuff, I'll give him that, But after all these guys, I praise praise the Outlaw Shamil Shai, because out of all these guys, I was the one who took it to the next level. I took this truth to the next level, man. Okay, as in I went, all out. Right, as they say, what is it, YOLO, right? You only live once. Right, I went all out for this truth, man. Okay, watching, 2, 3, 4,000 videos in, 9 months about this, studying for 8 hours a day, making thousands of, videos and whatnot. Right, I went, all out, right, all out YOLO for this truth, all right, which I'll say this, some of them, put in some good work, I will say that. However, at the end of the day, a lot of them lost that oil. The scriptures speak about 5 wise virgins and 5 foolish. Okay, and the 5 foolish tried to take of the ones that had the oil to light their lamps, and they weren't able to because there wasn't enough oil for the both of them. That's in the book of Matthew. But anyway, a lot of those guys got burned out, man. As in, they saw stuff going on in the world, to prophesy about it, but then they got bored. All right, then they all got bored about it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it all started out with 4. Okay, myself, Yasha, Rock Upon Him, Ridge Nibbler, what's the guy's name? Loving Christian, and what's the word I'm looking for? The Vigilant Soldier. Okay, which technically that's 5 altogether. But the one which was the Ridge Nibbler and the Loving Christian, they were actually enemies to start with. They were enemies. There was actually a point in time where, Loving Christian actually did, hundreds of videos about me, trying to, expose me, expose ETT, GMS, and whatnot, and all that good stuff. But, as I said, I'm not going to give every detail. I'll just give enough information. Maybe we'll do a video on it again in the future. But, fast forwarding, a couple years, a lot of them lost that oil, man. All right, a lot of them lost that passion. Okay, that's why you don't see these guys anymore. Okay, you don't see these guys around anymore. All right, because they lost that compassion. They lost that passion for this truth. Okay, so they turned from it. Right, I know, Rock, he's working at what is that? Damn Pizza Hut right now, which I'm not bashing him. That's a good job. It puts food on the table. But, it is what it is. He pretty much turned his back to the truth. He really isn't doing this anymore. He don't even have a channel. He turned it to a gaming channel. So that brother's gone. He lost the oil. But guess what? I didn't though. And I don't take that as, a brag. I'm just saying that, I myself, Yasha, I put in the work, man. I put in the work. I went out and told on the streets where these cats sat in the comfort of their own home. Okay, we taught the truth of Yahweh Shem Shai. And, as I said, fast forwarding a couple years to, the present point right now, out of the 4 or 5 mentioned, which is technically 5, but we'll just say 4, well, because I like the sound of it. But then it was also 4 at the time, because one of them was enemies. And the other one was for a period of time, but then he came to the, basically came to the crew, so to speak. So yeah, today who is with us still? Ridge Nibbler is with us, and the Loving Christian is still with us. The ones who lost or they got burned out was Rock Upon Him, and the one brother, the Vigilant Soldier. Which don't get this wrong. He is still on there. You can find his channel every year. He'll upload maybe 2 videos to it. So that's really, I count that as burned out. I know we got a lot going on, like with college or whatnot, but this truth comes before that, man. So I can't give him slack for that. So we'll say that brother lost the oil, man. All right, he got burned out. Okay, which all these guys, they went their own way, teaching these false doctrines, right? Which I found the truth, which is what? Great Millstone, right? The truth of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, which I pretty much knew about it at that point because I've been, following Great Millstone for 4.5 years. I broke off and did my own thing, ETT, End Time Teachers, which is, the name of my group. That I, personally name myself. Some personal things you go through in this truth, man. I'm not going to speak as, as if I'm some type of elder or nothing, because 7 years, that's not, too much compared to Elder Apostles Tahar's, 34 years or something. However, that's, a good amount of time, man. Okay, what is it? What's that brother's name? Alazar? Yeah, Alazar, the leader of Sakari. He's been in the truth for what, 12 years? Maybe 13 years. So, it only takes a couple years, man, to really get you, built, so to speak, right? Built for this truth. Okay? Some personal things that I went through in this walk of mine was, I was persecuted by my own family. They heard me speaking about, some of the, the shootings that were going on, saying, yeah, some of the stuff don't add up. They ended up, putting me in a mental institution, for a couple days, for this ministry, because they found out, what I teach. They found my page, which we don't get our family involved in this. The scriptures say a man's foe should be they of his own household. Okay, so it's just best, the scriptures say, to walk as be as wise as a serpent, but as harmless as a dove, right? So we're not supposed to really share this information with these average guys that we have in our daily life. This isn't really for you, okay? Which really, this is only for the Israel. Okay, this is only for Israel, and even among them a select few. Okay, because everybody isn't going to get this doctrine. Okay, everybody isn't going to get this. Okay, so yeah, I went through that experience. Okay, and that's okay. That's just something that has to happen. Okay, it's all a learning opportunity. Okay, it is all a learning opportunity, man. Okay, I've got so many stories we could go into, but I'm not going to share them all here at this present moment. But yeah, I had to go through that that tribulation and suffering. But it is what it is, man. Okay, it is what it is. The scriptures say, "My son, if you come to serve the Lord, prepare your soul for temptation." Right, so we got to be prepared for it, man. Okay, we got to be prepared for these sufferings that come with the truth. Okay, so pretty much that's not the whole story, of course, but that's a good amount of the story. That pretty much where I come from, my story and this truth. It all started with 4. Okay, it all started with 4, which is what? Myself. Some call me Age. Some say Yash, right, or Yasha. Myself, Rock Upon Him, Ridge Nibbler, TVC, or not TVC, the Vigilant Soldier, and the Loving Christian. Okay, it all started with this handful of people that some of them are still with us today. The other part, they pretty much, they lost out. They pretty much went back, and follow whatever they were doing before, this truth. But the scriptures say a good friend is like gold. A good friend is hard to come across. Okay, because certain guys will turn against you, man. They'll be friends with you for this occasion, but then they'll turn against you. All right. Which again, the ironic thing, as I was saying earlier, that me and Rock actually met at the same church before YouTube, but then we met up and we actually did a live debate. It took us about 5 years to meet up and have that debate, but we finally did it. All right, we finally, or I should say, he grew some balls. Which I'm just being sarcastic with that brother. We love that brother. He's an Israelite, but he lost the oil, man. The guy's teaching the Vatican's Babylon, and at the mark of the beast is Sunday worship. So you don't know what the hell he's talking about. But yeah, he's an Israelite. He's from the same tribe as me, the tribe of Issachar. Okay. So pretty much that's a majority of the story. It's not entirely all of it. I can't remember every detail, and I have stories to share another time. But I'm not going to run this too much longer. But yeah, that's pretty much my background. Right. It all started with those 4 individuals. I technically included myself, would be 5, but we'll just say 4. Well, I like the sound of it, and pretty much it's true to the story that some of them were enemies, and then they pretty much warmed up over time. But yeah, I just wanted to share that little story and my little little bit of background information about myself, because a lot of people might not know that I have actually been in the truth a lot longer than a lot of these cats out here. Right, been in the truth for about 6.5, 7 years, man. Or a lot of these guys out here only been in it for like 3 years, 2 years, something like that. Not that I'm any type of elder, but I definitely have a couple years under my belt, man. Okay, and nothing to boast about. Scriptures say, great men are not always wise, neither did the aged understand judgment. Okay, so we're all still learning, man. Okay, we're all still learning. We all don't have the whole understanding of the scriptures, and we won't until Yahushua returns. Okay, so we are all learning, man. As the saying goes, you learn something new every day. Yeah, you learn something new every day, man. Okay, and that's just the way it is. All right, you learn something new every single day, and that goes for every one of us, the elders of Great Millstone, myself, Yasha, and pretty much everyone in this truth, man. Okay, you never stop learning. Okay, it's pretty much that's just a little story I wanted to give. You can share your faults down below. And I give a little salute out to the 4. Okay, I give my salute out to them. Rock Upon Him, Ridge Nibbler, Loving Christian, and the Vigilant Soldier. I give my salute to them, even though a lot of them are going off. I still have respect for all 3 of these men that I mention here. All right, and I hope to see them all in the chariot, man. I hope to see every one of them receive salvation. But only time will tell, man. Okay, because a lot of them are going way the hell off. But that being said, they're still brothers. They're all still Israelites. Okay, at least in my eye, they are all Israelites. That's how I envision it. But yeah, I just wanted to do a video on that real quick. Yeah, I'm gonna let it play out to 25 minutes just because of OCD. Inside joke, shout out to everybody knows what that means. So yeah, and if anybody was wondering, the gameplay in the background is actually from Call of Duty Mobile. If anybody wanted to know that. And if you didn't notice, I put it on a loop. I replayed it. Probably saw that by now, but in case anyone was wondering, it was like, wait a second, did I just see the same footage? But yeah, it's almost there, like 25 seconds. Just because sometimes when you look at it, it gives you OCD. Oh, well, it isn't this exact time. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's pretty much, the story. As I said, y'all can share, your faults down below. and, your comments. And if any of the four are watching this, yeah, you can go ahead and, give yourself a shout out in the comment section below. As I said, I salute all those men. But anyway, with that being said, I'm going to say shalom.